Hello, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a bit of time since we last did a deck profile or any real videos in a sense. And so today we're going to be talking about my last weekend. So over the weekend I played in 2 OTS championships. The first one didn't go so well. It was 6 rounds in total, and that was in Good Games Chatswood, and the second one was in Games Corner. That was 5 rounds. That was a little bit better. So I'm going to be recapping, I guess, both events briefly, more so the second one because my performance was a bit better, and because the first day I feel like I was kind of getting into the groove of things, learning about some decks that I haven't really interacted with. So for some context as well, I haven't played too much of this game since, I'd say, maybe PHNI. I forgot which set that is, but it's the one with all the fire monsters. So since the other Molchami, the Berulia dropped, I haven't really touched the game since. I know I wanted to ideally get some testing done online, but again, I didn't have the time to, so it is what it is. I quickly kind of tried to get together a deck in time for the OTS champs, and I threw together this 43 card list. A bit of a fat deck, to be honest, but with a couple of the like 1 card cards that you don't really want to draw, I feel like 43 is okay. But I'm going to run through the deck first, and then I'll talk about some ideas that I have for upcoming decks and what I might change up. Before I do that though, quick shout out to Alan, who lent me a couple of cards. So he lent me some impulses and some of the $300 cards here. Well, not 300, it's like $200 now in Australian dollars for losses. Without him, I probably wouldn't have performed as well in the second day. Funnily enough, in the first day, I didn't end up drawing any 4 losses, so it's unfortunate, but that's how the game goes sometimes. Alright, so my record was 4-1 day 2, so that was Sunday. My matchups were against Centurion, Snake Eye Viking, Heroes, Dinos, and Kashtira. So a bit of like a rogue matchup throughout, aside from like the first 2. I feel like the most dominant decks this format are primarily Snake Eye Viking with Azumina as well. I don't remember if the player was running Azumina because I bricked so hard in that game. That was the game that I lost yesterday. Centurion is like popping off. I don't remember who it was exactly who did really well, maybe one of like the big time YouTubers, but everyone's following suit, and so everyone wants Centurion cores now. The deck is still really strong without Calamity. Quasar is a force to be reckoned with, and they have so many new support cards that just allow them to do so much. So that was my mistake of not putting in some specific cards, tech cards to counter them. But again, I'll talk about that in a second. Otherwise, Yubel Fiendsmith, I haven't seen a single Yubel player since I last played. And I've been in like a couple of locals here and there every now and then. Probably in the span of the last 3 months, I've probably played around like 3-4 locals at most. But again, they were super casual for the most part. I still played against like some of the meta decks, but just not Yubel. There was one more deck. Alright. I'd say like the Ritual Beast deck is also quite formidable. Yeah, okay. Let's jump into the deck list. So starting with the main deck first. We have the Spright stuff, so we have 3 blues, 3 jets. We have a red and a carrot. Might actually change up the ratios for once, but I will think about what I want to do exactly. 3 starters, 1 Gamma Burst, 1 Double Cross, pretty standard. Don't really like smashes right now, but because of one particular deck, I might consider running it. And that deck is Stun Knock. Not Stun Knock, it's the Runick Stun variant. I feel like it's such a pain to play against, and you just need some kind of removal in deck, inbuilt, aside from just like Phoenix, because it might not be the right card to have there. At least Jet can search you smashes, and you can do something with that. Then we have 3 Beavers, 2 Anglers, 3 Swaps. Running the Peony and the Caddy still, as well as the Mirror Mage and the spell for Mirror Mage to bring it back, because Toad is just too good not to leave in. Now for the hand traps, we have 3 Ashes, 3 imperms, 3 impulses, and then I put Shifter back in because Shifter cooks a lot of the top decks. It's pretty good against Yubel. It's very good against the Snake Eye variants. Pretty good against like maybe Centurion if they open field spell, but to be honest, they can play through it with all the different monsters and the starters that they have now, so it doesn't even do that much. But primarily for like the Snake Eye variants or like the I don't know what it does against Azumina. It's been a while since I've played against one. I haven't really read I played against like one maybe, but yeah. Also good against Runick if they have like Runick decks that aren't the stun variant. It's still really good. So for example, the White Forest decks. Also the Mermail deck, I think it's pretty good against them as well. Then we have Super Polys, because I feel like if you run Shifter, you just run Super Polys. They go well together. They don't really cause you to lose anything. Otherwise, this would be droplets. And I subbed them out because of the Shifter. I just didn't really want them to clash too much. Same idea with Draw. And then finally, 3 Fenrirs. Then we're going to move on to the extra deck. We have 1 Sprint. I still feel like 2 is too much. Not enough space for 2 of them anyway, so don't need them. Then we have 2 Gigantics, 1 Toad, 1 Mannequin, 1 SP. Then we have the Zeus stuff, so that's Soul Sweeper and Mosquito, as well as, I don't know why it's not here. Did I already go through it? I did. Mannequin Cat's here. Okay, let's put it back on top here. Mannequin I consider to be one of the Zeus monsters. Sometimes you just want the 2k body to beat over like a 1900 body, and then you can make a Zeus. Sometimes running in with mosquitoes while they have a set that could be imperm is a bit risky, so just having that extra big body is good. Otherwise, a lot of people ask what the point of Mannequin is. It's purely just for like it's to add a bit of variance to your standard lines. You don't have to go into Gigantic every single time. It's quite risky as well. If you summon Mannequin, there's a chance that you can get out like one of their darks, and then you can go into your Spright lines. Otherwise, it's also used to summon some like funny floodgates. You can summon Newman off of Perulia, for example, or the 4 loss you can summon like Spell Canceller, or there's like an insect that you can summon that stops special summons, or limits it to once per turn. Then we have Downard and Zeus. I still feel like they're necessary. They're just really good bodies. Then we have Melffy of the Forest and Herald of the Arclight, the Melffy stuff. Phoenix, just for popping spells or traps. I wanted 1 Link monster that wasn't IP. So after a lot of like playing around at locals, I felt like I was never really summoning IP. Even when they didn't hand trap me and I opened really well, I didn't make IP because like Melffy of the Forest was just better overall, and I just didn't feel the need for it. I felt like SP is still necessary, and I feel like the upcoming Bonanza will make everything quite affordable. Also, the Toad and the Swap Frogs are getting reprinted, so I can upgrade the rarities, but that's on the side. Same with the Phoenix. I don't really think anything in the deck is too expensive anymore, which is good. And SP especially. SP, just using it to like banish stuff and then controlling the board. That's what I'm mainly using it for. You don't have to banish on their turn, but IP, I can still understand why people might want to play it. Also the link zones for like double cross. Sometimes I wished I was playing IP instead. And then we have the 2 Super Poly targets, Mudragon and Garura. If I didn't have these, I'd probably put in Herald of the Pure Light. I feel like Pure Light still has its uses. Throughout the tournament, I actually bricked really hard multiple times. For example, I drew like 2 Anglers once. I drew 2 Fenrirs. Like the draws were just not going my way, but that happens. And then for the side deck, we have 3 Judgments and 1 Anti-Spell. So this is what I like to call like the anti-board breaker stuff. Typically, even if you summon out a Carrot and, you know, like you have 10 Pie players running around, you have like Dark Ruler sides in the main deck as well. These will counter those even evenly. Judgment's gonna stop that if they burn through a Carrot. Some people will like hold an Imperm or like, you know, maybe even Droplet with the evenly. So just having the Judgments just to be safe is good. Also, Judgmenting like a normal summon is always nice as well. And then we have the anti-spell. I feel like even as a one-off, you just have to run it. It's so good. Stopping a bunch of spells. If they commit to like a really spell-heavy deck and they set everything, you can even just Zeus wipe everything and then you have the hand advantage. Just keep some cards in your hand. Then we have Forlos. Really, really good card. I'm not running Perulia because I feel like having the going first protection is already good enough. And going second, I have some other cards like Super Poly, like Shifter. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's really format dependent. Like the next Molchami that comes out doesn't seem to be too good right now, but again, time will tell. And Perulia right now just seems very average. The two Cosmics here, I originally did not have in the deck. This used to be one Lightning Storm and one Evenly. I didn't respect Centurion players enough. Thankfully, I didn't verse any in the first day. But during the second day, I figured that like because I saw some on the first day, Cosmic was probably necessary to run just for those, and also the Runick players, because I hate Runick Stun. I hate like how they flip non-fun cards and then you don't get to play anymore, and then it goes into time or you deck out. So that's for the Floodgates. I'll probably run it at 3 if I had the space. I might even change like this up. It didn't really work too well. A lot of players are playing like board breaker variants, so it's like a good mix of like hand traps and board breakers. I don't remember resolving these cards much at all throughout the entire tournament. Well, either of them, to be honest. The last few cards, Thrust, and then Thrust targets, we have Talents, D-Barrier, DDG, and Evenly. So some other thoughts that I have. First, I want to address the Fenrirs. Fenrirs, they still are really good and they're doing their job, but I feel like solely because of this card right here, Dominus Impulse is really good of a card, but stopping your lights, earths, and wind attribute monsters means that you can't use Zeus anymore. You can't use Fenrir. You also can't use Forlos, although you can chain it. I'm pretty sure that still works. Or you can just Forlos in the draw phase. I think I mentioned Mannequin already. Is there anything else? I guess Herald and the Melffy stuff. But those are like going first cards, so those will rarely come up. But it's mainly the Fenrirs. Like if you Forlos them first, this just feels a lot worse to summon later on. So I think having some more consistency will help with the breaking. I opened, like I said before, I opened with like 2 Fenrirs multiple times, and that just felt bad. Really good card, but I think purely because of Impulse, I probably cut it out. Maybe some hand trap that works on the Shifter, so not Veiler. Potentially, I think Morna is also dead on the Shifter, so is Ogre. Wait, no, I think Morna still works, but Ogre doesn't. So maybe Morna as like another version of Veiler. In the main deck might be good. Also, Super Poly, I feel like people don't respect it anymore, and so it still is quite useful in breaking boards, but by the time you reach that point against some decks, like it's a bit too late. Even if you trade 2 for 2, they'll have other monsters to just mess with your plays, and so it kind of stops you from doing what you want to do. That is about it. I don't think any of the matchups were too difficult. Centurion, I barely won in time, but wasn't too bad. Heroes, Dinos, Kashtira, they're all really rogue. And Snake Eyes Viking, I think if I drew better, if I drew Shifter a single time, or if I didn't break as hard as I did, I would have done a lot better against them as well. The Melffy stuff, I think you still want to keep them. I think just having the Forest, being able to Fiendish Chain something, is just so useful. So the Forest, people underrate this card, and being able to make the Herald as well. Like you have a mini Shifter, you have an Omni Negate that forces people to go into battle phase to swing over it. You have Melffy of the Forest that negates something. You don't have to bounce the caddy back straight away to search. You can even just wait for them to summon something that you want to negate, for example, Snake Eyes Ash. You can activate it on Diabell Star because you don't want them to swing into one of your monsters. But you can choose, is what I'm trying to get at, right? Like, they have to, even if they attack into the caddy, it's still going to trigger. So it's not so much of an issue of triggering it on the first thing that you see, but you can wait until later on to trigger it. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the deck. I think this can definitely do with a lot more tinkering. I definitely will switch a lot of things up. I think hand traps are probably the right way to go. I'll probably switch a couple of these out, but I do like these 2 cards in particular, especially in the upcoming formats. Also with Ryzeal coming out and another like XYZ focus deck, we might see more D barriers and like maybe even Goblin Bikers, which will hurt this deck a little bit. But for the time being, I feel like Super Poly and Shifter has to go back in the main deck. More Melffy stuff is fine as well. Okay, that's all. I'll see you guys in the next one. Laters.